because you said you are a true Cowboys fan. Yep. So I will tell you this, and all 53 guys on that roster are busting their tail to win games. It's not like Jerry does not want to win games, but there comes a time sometimes where you have to let the people who you put in charge lead. And if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then you gotta pull the trigger. So maybe he's in that space now. I don't know, but and I'm not in their locker room. But what people kind of have to understand about NFL teams, there's 32. Everybody's shooting for the same thing. Everybody wants to win. Well, almost everybody wants to win. We know the ones who really don't win. So, but everybody's trying to win, right? Yeah. Cowboys are no different, and it's hard to win in this league. It's hard to win in this league. So they've got good talent. They just needed some consistency. Maybe they'll get that with the new coaching staff. We'll see. I think there's always hope, especially when you have a good coach coming in. So we'll see. But if the owner/GM doesn't let the coach, then yeah. But in terms of off the field, Jerry is a. I have feelings by the way he treats players during the CBA negotiations, whether that's a negotiating tactic or whatever. It's grating on them. He's made disrespectful comments to players, great players, players that are there for the right reasons. Those are kind of things that make me lose respect for you in my eyes. So he's not one of my favorite owners. We'll just put it that way. I got two advice questions for you. First, what advice would you give? So because this all season we signed a player by the name of Aldon Smith. He hasn't played in 5 years because of off the field issues and some other things, but he used to play for the Raiders and 49ers. So what advice would you give that type of player who had to play for 5 years? And Jerry Jones obviously likes taking chances, taking gambles on these type of players. But what advice would you give to Aldon Smith for him to stay on the field and get his act right and then focus on football with the Cowboys if he makes the team?
Listen, so I'm glad that you asked me that question. One of the things that irritates me the most about media and even some former players in the media when they want to jump on a soapbox and give career advice and parenting talks to players, right? I don't believe in that. I think these guys have to live their lives. If he's being given another chance to go and play the game that we're all blessed to play, if all the parameters have been met for him to get back on the field, then just do you. Be the best player that you can be the person that you can be with this chance that you've been given again. But it is not my place to tell another grown man what he should and should not do. He should have a lot of examples around him for what the right behavior is and the way you should be when you're blessed to be a professional football player in the National Football League.
And then this other one is, what advice would you give to these the young athletes, like the young football players that's trying to be like you, Howie Long, and all these other greats that used to play football? What advice would you give them and to keep the head straight and continue working hard to make their football craft better? What advice would you give young athletes?
So I will give some advice in that, in the mentoring aspect of it. Be hungry. I don't care if you were all Big Ten, all ACC, all American, all everything, Heisman Trophy winner. None of that matters when you step on an NFL field and play for an NFL team. Everybody on the team was an All-American, All-Conference, all something, right? So you have to come in with a humble heart and a lion fire that burns and that you want to just continue to fight and fight and fight. Every down, every play, absorb, soak up everything everybody's willing to give you. Learn your playbook. be as focused as you can, and being everything that you can be for that team. That is how you'll be successful in your first year as a pro. It's not always going to go your way. You're not going to get everything you want out of that first year, because it's a learning experience for everybody. But man, if you come in and you come in humble, you will have the best chance at being ultra successful in the league.
Well said. So before I let you go, I have a couple of things for you. First, a few rapid fire questions. What was your game day music before the game starts? What did you listen to prep for the game?
Oh, geez. I mean, I had a 10-year career, so the music changed over those 10 years. So Inner Sandman was one for sure. Machine Head, that was another one of my favorites. Moment of Truth, that was another one of my favorites. God, there was just so many. I had different playlists. All of them were usually pretty heavy metal. I got a chance to meet Metallica before a Denver game in Denver, so they were Raiders fans at the time. So, but yeah, I mean, music was a big part of it. But I listened to so many different things. I can't tell you exactly which one, but those are the ones that really stuck out because they get my beat going. They get my blood going.
Who is your favorite hip hop artist?
Unforgiven. Also, Unforgiven was another one too, because I always felt that we played during a time that we could do things. So, and I wasn't known as the friendliest player in the league. So, yeah. Unforgiven was kind of a song that I identify with a little bit. So,
who was your favorite? Who's your favorite hip hop artist back in the day and now?
My favorite hip hop artist?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so I mean that's easy. Dre and Ice. Because I mean I was in LA during 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, right? So everything was happening, and Dre would give great parties and we'd all go to them. Ice, I mean they were huge, they were huge Raiders fans. So they would be behind the bench during the games. So we all had really, we all went to the same parties. We enjoyed each other's company. It was a fun time to be young in LA. And those, I mean, they ruled the scene at that time. So during that time, they were definitely my favorite artists.
What's your favorite thing to do outside of sports?
I mean, it's changing because my favorite thing to do has been watching my daughters develop as athletes. And one of them's off in college, and the other one she's not playing anymore. So, but reading, I'm a huge sci-fi nut. Those who know me, anime. I watch a lot of anime, gamers. But my job is pretty robust. So I don't have a lot of free time. But when I do, those will be the things you'll find me doing. You'll find me, binging some anime or binging some sci-fi or reading some good sci-fi books and some adventure stuff. Those are the kind of things that I like to do. I love spending time with my wife. That's my best friend. So we spend a lot of time together. But, we'll have a lot more of that soon because the youngest will be in college.
Favorite sports movie?
Oh, favorite sports movie? Any Given Sunday.
Favorite non-sports movie?
Gladiator.
Right. Do you consider that a sports movie, Gladiator?
It could be. It could be. Yeah, it could be. It could be considered that. Yeah. So there's a theme. There's a theme there.
Yeah. Favorite food?
Oh, steak, ribeye. Especially the tomahawks too. Oh, so good. So good. I when I go onto a farm, usually the cows start backing away because they know a predator is there. So yeah, I'm a huge beaver.
Do you have any
favorite what?
Oh, do you have anything that you kept throughout from your football career that you kept in your house?
Oh yeah. I'd say my favorite piece is my framed Central Division champions, because it was back to back Central Division champions with the Steelers. I've got that framed T-shirt, and I've got the hat, and I've got my personalized Myron Cope terrible towel. So those are my trophies from that great season in '97. I've got my Raider helmet that's in my office, and it's the one that, the silver helmet. That's with the black visor. That was a fun time. And I cracked the helmet on a collision, so it was decommissioned, so I got a chance to keep it, so they gave it to me. So I've got that. Those are, I've got a lot of other nice pieces. I've got some great pictures, me hitting some really great players that are wearing gold jackets now. I treasure those because those are moments I was there. I did those things, right? And it's a blessing to have done those things. So those are my favorite memories. I'm a collector, so I collected a lot of those things, especially the images. It was great playing for a lot of these great teams because the photographers were really generous. And, I had good relationships with them, so they would come like, hey, Nolan, they would give me these images. Nowadays, they would just email them to you, or just, Slack them to you or whatever. But, I had them all, handed to me, so it was pretty cool.
So the last two things here, so I've been asking all my guests that comes on the podcast of their perspective on the late Kobe Bryant. Since you have daughters, and the most devastating thing was when he lost his daughter too in the crash, the 13-year-old Gianna. So I've been asking all my guests to get their perspective, their own perspective on Kobe Bryant, because he was one of my role models growing up, and I used to watch him playing for the Lakers. So what is your perspective on him as a father, a girl dad, a player, and what he meant to you as a player?
Well, we all digest Kobe Bryant from a distance. I'm lucky enough to have some friends who live near them, whose daughters played with his daughters. So I know that he was everything that people have been saying. He was the girl dad. He was very involved in his daughter's athletics. He was always there, always in the stands at every practice that he could be at every game. So those images, some people are like, well, that's not real. No, that part about it is real. And so I have a really deep appreciation for that piece of it. He was a very devoted father, very loving father. You can tell, even off and on. The relationship that he has with them was special. So, being a father to myself, it's sad to see that. I couldn't imagine my girls having to be without me, or have lost one of them. So that's hard. That's so I feel for them on that. That's a tough thing. The Mamba mentality. Any high level, anybody who's made it to high level sports and played it for a long time, has a version of the Mamba mentality in them. So I'm always kind of identified with that one. I'm more of a Jordan guy, because that was my contemporary. We played at the same time. So we'd see Mike do things, and I'm a Chicago kid. We'd see Mike do things. We'd get a chance to every once in a while get to go watch the practices, and Kobe emulated his style from Michael. So for me, for the both of them, how their dedication to the game, their dedication to the extra work, to to learning the history of it, bringing the most out of your teammates, bringing the most out of your opponents. It's not always friendly. It's not always pretty, but it's always funny. People talk about it when you're in it. You might not like it, but when they talk about you later, it's usually with reverence, right? So it's to me, the most successful people push and drive that way, and I'll always have an appreciation for Kobe, and of course, with Michael still being here, those are, Michael being one of the guys that I really looked up to as non-football player, just that drive and determination to make it happen. I spent my whole career as an overachiever. Wasn't the fastest kid, wasn't the strongest kid, but I worked hard to build myself up from baby stick
to being an intimidating force on the field for a long time. And that took a lot of hard work and a lot of extra hours and a lot of extra time. That didn't come just because I wished for it to happen. And I had to beat things into people, and I had to push my way through barriers. And both of those guys, they really emulated that, and they took it to the highest levels that we all wish we could have gotten to.
Yeah, so before we get going any further here, I just want to give a shout out. Global Kid Media, he just joined us in the live, and this kid is 13 years old. He's trying to be interviewed. It's amazing what he's doing right now at 13 years old. So when you get a chance, check out his page, and he already interviewed Franco Harris, actually, the Super Bowl from the Steelers. So
Frank's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah. So when you get a chance, check out this page, Global Kid Media. This kid he's gonna be
and it's phenomenal. I mean, it should win an Emmy. So far with the first 2 episodes, so I'm loving it.
So speaking of, so when I saw that Scottie Pippen contract, 7 years for $18 million, that's insane. That was insane. I was like, what? So the contracts, obviously back in the day, that was like, I don't know, crazy. What do you thought of that when you heard that thing, when they said that was 7 years, $18 million, especially for NBA? But
I knew that. I mean, that's, we were all players at the time. He was underpaid. Even as football players, we knew Scottie was underpaid. And as being a Bulls fan, we knew that. And, the tactics that he used, as a player, I can't say that, when you're not being valued, putting your career on the line, playing on an injury is not smart. So, I think, I know Michael said he was, he thinks Scottie was being selfish, but if his career ended and that's all he got because he was being undervalued, then what? Right. Mm-hmm. So I never tell a man what he should and should not do to earn that bag. Okay. So I don't like to see guys do that and comment on other people's bags. Should not do that. So in my opinion, we all knew Scottie was underpaid. Scottie eventually ended up seeing all these, later honors, Monday morning quarterbacks. Oh my God, Scottie, this and this. Okay, yeah. Quit. And you want a guy to go out there with an injury, with a potential that he could never do this thing again, hurt it worse, blah, blah, devalue himself because he just wants to go out because you want to go see him play. Foolish.
Yeah. So the last thing here before I let you go, would you like to say anything to all the frontline people that's helping us out right now during this tough situation?
Oh, thank you. All I have to say is, that's another one of the undervalued portions of our community. And it stinks that it's during this COVID-19 pandemic crisis that we're going through that people are starting to realize and really respect our first responders and our frontline people. My mom is a nurse, and I was worried about her, but they're committed to what they do, and they're going to go and serve their patients. And it's just, thank yous from all of us and all the well wishes and all that stuff. It's never enough, but I say it a million times. Thank you for all that you do for every single one of us. And I'm hoping that in time, you will become valuable to us when it's not a crisis. And hopefully in this next phase in our lives, all of you will be lifted up and kept up there because you should be.
Well said. I just want to say thank you for joining me on the podcast today. This has been fun, inspiring, and everyone go follow the great Nolan Harrison on Twitter.